Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Lehr with me, your host Imperial Day, and today's topic being the Hafltracks, more specifically regarding, using them for reinforcement. Why do you want them to be able to reinforce you? And then how do you sort of use them? There's also some upgrades for them. Usually, I'm not going to factor in those more specific to the different Hafltracks. So keep that in mind. I won't be sort of going into that an awful much. Is more specifically in the topics of reinforcing using your Hafltrack, but also to a certain extent, transporting using your Hafltracks. And of course, using your Hafltracks to sort of transport you into a role is always a nice little thing, and we'll start out with that as sort of the briefer thing. Not really a lot of footage lately of that, so I'll just sort of stick to the explanation of it. Maybe make a more specific video on transport tactics, but overall, the gist of it is usually you can use it, for example, to quickly move forces from, say, your base to the front line, quickly, rapidly moving up there, perhaps also a bit safer, avoiding some dangers. It's also a great way for, say, so, for example, you've got a point, there's an MG covering it, you rush the Hafltrack past it, get behind the MG, dislodge all of your men. It's also sort of thing that sort of quickly get your troops moving, push up an assault, again have the Hafltrack absorb some of the damage, then pop out, get the troops out, then finish off the job. Though you should be mindful, if the Hafltrack blows up, the troops inside of it, and you are going to suffer some losses, so keep that in mind. Of course, the Soviet one allows your troops to fire while on the move, so that certainly also has its own little advantages. But overall, those are the sort of initial bits and basic gists of using your transport Hafltracks for, moving men about on the battlefield, and why you might do it again can be helpful in sort of quickly moving up a larger force here or there, or for example through a blizzard to just sort of fast up. The primary bit though of this video, what we really want to talk about, is I want to talk about, you're obviously going to stay quiet and just watch this and then comment on it, but it's basically more about reinforcing at the front line. Why do you want to reinforce at the front line, you might be asking, what's the harm in just doing it all time back in the base? Well, here's the thing. In fact, we'll be using this little squad here as an example. You might be noticing it's running away. It's only taking a bit of damage, but as you might also be noticing, it's actually taking time, to get from here back to the base. It then has to spend time reinforcing, and then has to move even slower. And again, note here, this is hardly going at a rapid pace, this kind of movement. And again, time matters in the game. Time is a resource. I can easily be a few minutes there again where troops aren't doing anything compared to, say, if you have a Hafltrack up there instantly reinforcing at the front line. Things like that also make a considerable difference. Yes, you might not then be able, of course, to get healed if you have some healing messages back in the base, unless, of course, the Germans have a medic bunker nearby. Players like Barton, for example, I believe have done that before. Not a bad idea, but again, overall, again, it's sort of in a decision, do I want to, save time, or do I want to, save other resources a bit more? And again, time can be important as well, since it can then allow you to keep a stronger frontline presence, push back your opponent, and then sort of quickly get back to work, taking points and so on. It also can, say, minimize the effect of a single mine, for example, blowing up most of your squad. Then you don't have to retreat the squad all the way back just because of a single mine, but then you quickly move up the Hafltrack, reinforce, and then you're good to go again. So in that regard, the Hafltrack is basically a measure to be able to keep you going for a lot longer throughout a match. And we're also noting here, we're talking about the M5 and the 251. The 250 can't reinforce, so that's less important. But again, when that, it can allow it to keep going for much longer. Of course, there are the measures for the Russians. Of course, you can merge, but again, that involves to a certain extent sacrificing a squad. And as a Germans, you also have the command bunker, but the command bunker doesn't exactly move, so that's more of a question of bunker placement, which is likely more the topic of another video as well. But no, again, Hafltracks are one of the better measures of basically keeping a push going, keeping a defense also going. For example, you say you have a vital weapon, like say this field gun. Let's imagine this field gun is actually quite veteran. Let's also imagine it's down to about 2 to 3 men. Normally, of course, you'd have to pull it all the way back to the base again. That's going to be even slower as well. And that, of course, means your opponent has time to do whatever he wants. On the other hand, say, you've got a Hafltrack nearby, you can quick reinforce, and then you can get the repaired as well with some engineers, quick repairing, ensuring it doesn't fall apart. And there you go. Again, you don't have to pull back a vital asset from the front line. So in that regard, again, numerous purposes. Also, for example, again, let's take an example. Oh, goodness gracious, we just stumbled upon some enemy equipment. And again, I want to recruit, but again, say I'm playing as Germans, that's a 4-man squad down to 1 man. And again, that means I have to retreat 1 unit. On the other hand, oh, hey, I have a Hafltrack. I can just reinforce, and again, I don't have to spend time running all the way back, and I can much more better keep a push fluid and going. So in that regard, being able to reinforce at the front line can provide you with numerous benefits as you sort of keep going and taking ground, taking equipment, attacking and defending, since again that way you can sort of keep up a bit more better fight of attrition, though you should be careful about where reinforcing, then you have the half-track placed so you don't say waste men needlessly, but at the same time also don't make the half-track a big fat target, because of course your opponent will likely go, you know, I probably should be dealing with that thing that keeps reinforcing my opponent's frontline squads. I might of course just be silly, but I think overall I'll be a lot more likely to win this fight if I'm not the only one mindlessly bleeding out my men and, you know, forced retreat. So that, of course, is again something to keep in mind there in terms of counter tactics as well. You know, if you do spot your opponent's half-track, you might want to take it up, because again it can allow your opponent to keep a much stronger, much firmer field presence, and thus be harder to push off the map overall, and will certainly require you to expend a lot more effort compared to if he hasn't won, where again you can sort of slowly grind him down with a few proper assaults. So again, those are additional small things to keep in mind when talking about half-tracks, what they do and what they can do for you. And again, this is just sort of the basics of it, why you want it. Again, amongst other things, to save time, but also sort of slightly give you the edge in certain battles. With infantry, also again, ensure you don't have to constantly retreat. And again, time. Time is a resource. I mean, it's not something you see, you know, it's like you know, I've got 255 manpower, got 126 munitions, I've got 40 fuel, and I've got, you know, 75 time. No, it's not like that. But again, time is a resource. And if you can cause your opponent to waste time as well, that's great. I mean, the more you can force him to waste time while ensuring you don't waste time is great. In particular on the battlefield, because then means you have more time on the battlefield to either attack, defend, take territory, or prepare for a counter-attack. So I mean, all of those things matter, all of those things can sort of give you an edge in the battle. So, hopefully this little episode has illuminated you on the matter of half-tracks, or why you want to reinforce at the front line. And again, just an example, I mean, you can apply this to command bunkers, but again, they're bunkers, they're not moving, so you do have to be a bit more considerate about where you place them, partly to ensure you don't place them up, you know, too far away from the front line, but not too close either, so your opponent can shoot at them. At the same time, you don't want them, say, blocking, you know, where you have to move through, because you can then sort of go, well, you know, Heinz, yeah, I mean, it was great we have a medic bunker, but I think it's a bit of a problem. It's blocking survey for all of our panzers. So again, that's also a little thing to keep in mind. When you can, but again, if you do get something like that up, again, you can be much harder to push off, and again, that can give you a considerable advantage in the long run, if utilized correctly. So, hopefully you're enlightened, hopefully you understand things better, hopefully you're clear on the subject. If you are, why not subscribe, tell your friends, share it with everyone. If not, well, you know, sorry. Hopefully I can illuminate more in future videos. But anyways, this is Imperial Dane saying cheers.